How has your day been? Right. Welcome. Okay. It's the Mentors Show. So tell me, how has your day been today? Great. All right. Are we live on Instagram? Yeah. You are who you are. So welcome to the Mentor Show. Welcome. It's another day. It's a Tuesday when we come live, bringing you the Mentor Show. I worship you. I worship you. You are too faithful to fail me. So how has your day been? Welcome. For those who are on YouTube at Africa Coaching and Mentorship Initiative, welcome. Those who are on LinkedIn, welcome. Those who are, of course, on Instagram, welcome. We are not on Facebook now because of Facebook is playing some kind of interesting scenarios. Oh, Barrister, good evening. Barrister, good evening. How are you doing? And congratulations. I saw that you've opened your business in London, in the UK. Welcome. Well done. Congratulations. All right. Let's do our intro as we go into this session today.
Strap yourself in because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
Hello, welcome. I'm Dr. Olusola Ajide, your host on the Mentors Show, where we inspire you, help you reinvent yourself, and make a positive impact in your community, in your country, and on your continent. We mentor people across Africa. We bring you guests with inspiring life stories who are themselves transformation agents, making a positive change in their profession and nations. Subscribe to the African Coaching and Mentorship
It's the Mentors Show.
YouTube
Welcome.
channel. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Yes, welcome to the Mentors Show. I'm your host, Dr. Olusola Ajide. You know how it is. The Mentors Show is where the Mentors Show help, inspire you. The Mentors Show is a show where we'll bring you ideas that could help you reinvent yourself. The Mentor Show is a show where we bring you guests on that show you that it is possible for you also to make a positive impact. And when we don't have guests on the Mentor Show, we do have these sessions that we are having, for example, today, which is the what we call the mapping Africa's natural resources. In other words, we are looking at how to maximize, how to tackle, if you like, the challenges that exist on the continent of Africa. And I bring you that on the premise that you, our listener, our audience, you are the solution to the challenges that is bedeviling Africa. So you are the solution to these challenges that are bedeviling the continent of Africa. And so tonight we are continuing on the journey. And what is the journey? The journey of mapping Africa's natural resources. So we've been on this for so long. We've started many years ago we've looked at Algeria, Angola, Benin, Botswana, Burkina Faso, all the way to Malawi, Mali, Mauritius, Morocco, Mozambique, Namibia, Nigeria, Rwanda. We've looked at Sao Tome and Principe. We've looked at Senegal, Seychelles, Sierra Leone. Last week we looked at Sierra Leone, Nation 43. And today we're looking at Nation 44. We're looking at Somalia. Somalia is the 44th nation we are mapping, we are looking at. Welcome, for Limitless. Welcome to the Mentors Show. So tonight we are looking at Somalia. And that's our focus tonight. Looking at the resources, looking at the opportunities, as it were, on this, in this country called Somalia. We're looking at this country called Somalia. Like I've read to you, we've looked at 43 other nations, looking at various aspects of those nations. But tonight, our spotlight is on Somalia. Somalia is what you are. So for our audience on LinkedIn, welcome. Tell us where you are joining us from. For those of our audience on Facebook, on YouTube, at Africa Coaching and Mentorship Initiative YouTube channel, let us know how you are, where you are joining us from. And for those of you on Instagram also, let us know where you are from. Our Facebook is down because Facebook is playing doing some things, some adjustments. We will sure be back on Facebook. We will sure be back on Facebook. So let's go into it. Tonight we're looking at Somalia. Somalia is nation 44 that we are looking at the nation of Somalia. Now Somalia, which is officially called the Federal Republic of Somalia, is the easternmost country in the continental Africa. It's located in the Horn of Africa. In fact, it's called the Horn of Africa, and it's bordered by Ethiopia to the west, Djibouti to the northwest, Kenya to the southwest, and the Gulf of Aden to the north, and of course the Indian Ocean. In fact, Somalia is termed the nation that has the longest, when it comes to coastline, when it comes as a nation, longest coastline, because of the length of the coast around the Horn, and for that. So and to the east is bordered by the Indian Ocean. Is bordered by the Indian Ocean. Now, when it comes to the issue of the flag, like you can see from the graphic I displayed, the Somaliland, it's actually sky blue with a lone, just a singular star at the center. That's the flag of Somalia. Now, when you do a lot of research, you find out that it seems that, not it seems, it is, but it's not. Somalia has some constituents. In other words, seemingly small nations within it with their own flags. But those nations within Somalia are not recognized by the United Nations. So, and that's so solely what we know is Somalia as it is. So it is based on Somalia as it is. So this particular nation, the capital is Mogadishu. The capital of Somalia is Mogadishu. And this nation, the language, good evening, Omodu Solomon. The language of this official language is Somali and Arabic. So the official language is Somalia or Somali and Arabic. And of course, the ethnic group, it has majorly ethnic group are just Somalis at 85%, while other groups are 15%. Other groups are 15%. Other groups are 15%. So when somebody is from Somalia, the person is, the demonym is that this person is a Somali. A person that is from Somalia is termed a Somali. Yeah. The religion is Sunni Muslim, and of course the government have a federal parliamentary constitutional republic. They have a president, they have a prime minister. The president is Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud, and the prime minister is Hamza Abdi Bare, and they have a speaker of the Senate, Abdi Ashi Abdullahi, and the speaker of the House, Adin Madobe. So they have a upper and a lower House legislature. Now, when it comes to the nation, the nation has gone through quite a lot, and of course, historically, the Somalis trails their historical. They have a long way of their history up to 2350 BC as a nation. And of course, at the time, they were colonized by Italy. At the time, they were colonized by Italy, and they got seemingly their freedom from Italy. So the total area of Somalia is 637,657 kilometers. So the population of this nation as at 2023, the estimate is 18,143,378, making it the 78th nation in the world based on population. And of course, the density is 27.2 kilometers per square mile, making it the 199th in the world. Now, when it comes to GDP, the total GDP of this country is $34.03 billion, and the per capita is $2,060. So the GDP, well, I think we can leave that one. The currency is Somali shilling, and of course, that is as per this nation. So you could see that when it comes to, I don't know what is Somalia is known for, is bad in the news, known for is piracy, the piracy and the Al-Shabaab. And those are the two negative things. Now you see, part of the challenge in the continent of Africa is every nation on the continent have their own challenges. And like I mentioned earlier, it is Africans who can help solve the problem that exists on the continent. So part of the challenges of this nation is because of the coastline, access to water, Indian Ocean, the Gulf of Aden, and some could argue that the situation of the nation was because of the failure of the government or failure of government policy. And these are part of the challenges that we have on the continent. Every nation on the continent, welcome to the Mentor Show, Olu Bola the Great, Obiolu Loba the Great. So each of the nation, welcome to the Mentor Show. And the premise we normally ask on this show is, have you discovered the problem you were born to solve? Have you discovered the problem you were born to solve? You were born to solve a problem. Have you discovered that problem? And that is what the Mentor Show today is addressing, based on when we come to this mapping Africa's natural resources. We are looking at what are the challenges, or if you like to use the word, I like to use the word, what are the opportunities? And you are part of the solution to the challenges that is bedeviling the African continent, or bedeviling the nation where you are. So if you say, oh, I'm not from Somalia, whatever nation you are from, you are part of the solution. And that stems from the fact that you need to know the problem you were born to solve, so that you can begin to address those problems. You can begin to put your hand to the plow, if you like to use that terminology, begin to address that problem. All right, quickly, let's go over now to, when it comes to Somalia, we are talking about mapping Africa's natural resources. What are the resources that are available in Somalia? What are the resources that are available in the mineral resources available in Somalia? Now, this country, the country of Somalia, has some mineral resources. So some of these resources that Somalia has now, it is a known fact. Just give me a minute. Okay, there you go. So it's a known fact of the challenge that exists when it comes to natural resources on the continent of Africa. In fact, like we looked at Somalia, we looked at Syria alone last week, and which was talking about the aspect of blood diamonds. how that this availability of these resources becomes a challenging nation. So Somaliland has a great deposit of feldspar, gypsum, iron ore, copper, gold, kaolin, natural gas, quartz, silica sand, tantalum, tin, and uranium. These are the mineral resources that are abundant in. So having uranium, iron ore, tin, gypsum, bauxite, copper, salt, and natural gas. So are those things that are available in this nation. And like I keep mentioning, like we've seen from other nations we've looked at, the presence or the availability of these natural resources on the continent of Africa or in any nation has not really brought significant benefit to the citizenry. And that's why we're coming on the show. You might be the one that will help to look at how can we deploy or extract these materials, identify, extract these materials in an ethical and a sustainable way that will not jeopardize the environment. And then these materials should be used for the betterment of the citizenry of these nations where they exist. Like you remember, if you remember when we did Nigeria, when we looked at Nigeria, you could see that Nigeria is one of those nations also bedeviled with this kind of challenges, because every single state in Nigeria had a natural resource, and we've not been able to maximize those resources to turn the tide and make the nation more economically prosperous and positive impact in the life of the citizenry. So these are part of the challenges that we have. So with all these challenges, in fact, when I mentioned Somalia has natural gas, Somalia may have at least 30 billion barrels of oil and gas reserves. You see, so these are opportunities. However, the challenges we have when it comes to when you have oil and gas. Even some of nations like Nigeria and other nations where these things are already being drilled, it's not yet transitioning. In fact, even in Nigeria, with all the natural resources and gas available there, even with the biggest refinery in Africa, if I think the Dangote refinery is still having challenge getting, because of capture, because of corruption. So, and even the nation is having queues. People are still looking for fuel. With enough of natural gas, the nation still do not have abundance of those materials. And it's quite interesting that even some nations who don't necessarily have these natural resources, they have an abundance of it. No, they don't experience this queue or all these challenges. So here we are, and that's why we keep coming on this show to say, you, our listeners, you, the audience, you are part of the solution. You need to identify the problem you're about to solve and step out and begin to tackle these challenges and begin to respond and begin to find ways to step to the plate and solve these problems. So these are critical issues. Now, when it comes to the issue or in Somalia of healthcare in Somaliland is also, healthcare in Somaliland is also a challenge. It's a challenge because 1 in 12 women die every year from causes related to pregnancy and childbirth in Somalia. The prevalence of any contraceptive method was just 14.9% in Somalia as of 2019, one of the lowest rated in the world. That tells you the challenge when the issue of contraceptive is not available to women. 4 in 100 Somali children die during the first month of life. So there are no health facilities, no good health, neonatal childbirth, neonatal health, and of course health at birth for children. So if 4 in 100 Somali children die during the first month of life, 8 in 100 before their first birthday, and 1 in 8 before they turn 5. You could see these are, I will use the word opportunities. So these are opportunities. There's a need for medical facilities. Across the continent of Africa, in every nation of Africa, like you can see in Somalia. So when it comes to the issue of health challenge, it is, and now again, the 35-year conflict that has engulfed the nation, the Somaliland. So, see, which has impacted women, adolescent girls, and children. When there is war, there is war and there's problem, those who suffer are the women and the children and the adolescent girls. And these are problems that could be solved. Also, low number of trained midwives and poor quality antenatal care contribute to a high maternal mortality ratio, with over nearly 1 out of every 22 mothers dying from pregnancy. What a pity. And you would assume that with the resources, natural resources that is available, those natural resources are supposed to bring to the citizens respite, supposed to bring to the citizen opportunities of having better life, isn't it? So these are part of the challenge, and because of the health situation in Somaliland, the life expectancy in Somaliland is quite something else. I've mentioned the case of the maternal mortality. I've mentioned the case of the child mortality and morbidity, which is a challenge in the nation. So when it comes to life expectancy, so when it comes to Somalia's life expectancy as of 2024 is 58.61%, or 51 years. It means that even though you said it's an increase from 0.46% from 2023, it means that you are possibly going to die at the age of 58.61%, which is appalling. When you just oppose that vis-a-vis nations, developed nations that have 75, 80, 85, even 90 people getting close to that age, you see that it's a challenge. And these are problems, these are opportunities that could be stepped into. And that is one of the reasons why we bring you this show. So I hope that today you are listening to this and thinking, how can you join the debate? How can you join the solution? How can you join to help solve the problem of, of, of Somalia? We are looking at Somalia today and on the social, on that, mapping Africa's natural resources. And if you are not from Somalia, whatever nation you are from, that nation also have these life expectancy issues, have these challenges that are there. So you can also look at it in that nation where you are from and see how you can solve the problem. Step to the plate. There's one thing you are passionate about. There's one problem you are created to solve. Identify that and begin to deploy it. Now, when it comes to the aspect of education in Somaliland, education, as of 2024, it is projected that between 3.6 million and 4.9 million school-age children in Somalia will not have access to formal education. This is in 2024. Are you an educationist? You know, I mentioned earlier that when it comes to the population in Somalia, I mentioned earlier when it comes to the aspect of the population in Somalia, the population in Somalia being 18,706,922, which is a 3.11% increase. And don't forget, this is the reason why we are talking about that Africa is the new frontiers, because when it comes to a breakdown of that 18 plus data, 49% of the population is female, 49.9, while 50.1% is male in the nation. So when it comes to the demography of children, when it comes to the age and the trend of people in Somalia, we could see, even though there seems to be a decline in the population. So, but the aspect of the point, like other nations, is that Africa is a young population continent. Majority, like in Somalia, for example, when it comes to the young folk, when it comes to the population of young people, over 70% of Somalia's population are under the age of 30, and that is the point. And that is the same scenario across the continent of Africa. And that is why we say Africa is a young continent. So these over 70% of 18 million plus are under the age of 30. So for those who are even under the age of 15 or 20, 15, they need to be schooled. They need to be catered for health-wise. They need to be catered for mentally. There's a lot that is required. And we're saying, you and I are the solution to this young, vibrant population, or this growing population, to know how do we cater for the health, how do we cater for the schooling, how do we cater for the health and well-being of these young people. So, step to the plate. Discover why you were born and step to the plate. That's the challenge you are bringing before you. And that's why this show exists every Tuesday, to come before you and to let you know opportunities that are there and how you can step and tap into these opportunities. Now, when it comes to, we've looked at the health, we've looked at the education. When it comes to, I forgot to mention earlier, when it comes to the literacy rate in this nation, when it comes to graduate education, the literacy rate is 41.03%, which is very appalling. Thank you very much. The literacy rate is 41.03%. If you compare that to, for example, Zimbabwe, that has 89.85%, you will see it's very appalling. You will see it's very appalling. So, and that's the challenge, that there's a need. We must begin to think of how do we educate the population? How do we educate the people on the continent of Africa? If 70% of this 80 million plus population are under the age of 30, how do we ensure that these people get to know how to read and write? Then they know how to express themselves. They know how to articulate their opinion. So these are the opportunities, not challenges. These are opportunities which, please, you need to be concerned and step forward when it comes to this nation. Earlier, we mentioned that Somalia has some agricultural, not yet, I've not mentioned it. So the nation of Somalia has some challenges when it comes to agriculture. Agriculture is the backbone of the economy, contributing over 70% of total GDP. 80% of its employment is in agriculture, and about 50% of its export is in agriculture. So, but like you know, like every nation in Africa, the agriculture is still subsistence farming. It's not yet mechanized, and we cannot feed our people on the continent if we don't have mechanized farming. So don't forget, we have been looking at Somalia. We've been considering and looking, we've been mapping Africa's natural resources, and today is nation number 44. We are looking at Somalia. Oh, apologies, the flyer does not have an A. Apologies. Somalia. So we'll be looking at Somalia. That's nation 44 we're looking at, and saying that there are opportunities for you and I to step in and be the solution. So if you're saying, oh, I'm not from Somalia, yes, I agree. But whatever nations you are from, there is also, whatever nation you are from, there is also that challenge in that nation which you need to step into, which you need to think of, how can I solve this problem that exists in that particular nation. We're looking at nation 44. All right. So as we, of course, when we talk about the issue of the food crisis in the nation of Somalia, you know, the challenge about generally nation, like we mentioned right now, productivity, the challenge of education, the challenge of food. How do we solve the problem? And that, I believe, is where you and I come into the picture. There's something that could be done when it comes to health, and I don't subscribe. I don't think. I think Nigeria is having that challenge now. I don't think GMO is the way. I don't think GMO food is the way. I think that natural food, natural plants. Hi, Muzi Gerden. So we are looking at mapping Africa's natural resources, looking at Somalia. So if you are from Somalia, welcome. If you are not from Somalia, the challenges we've looked at in Somalia are also existing in other nations on the continent, and you can also be the solution and the to challenges in your own nation. So have you discovered the reason why you were born? Have you discovered the reason why you exist? Have you discovered the problem you were born and created to solve? That is what we bring to you, and that's what we're telling you on the Mentors Show. When we have this session of mapping Africa's natural resources, that's the premise. That if you have not discovered the reason why you exist, if you've not discovered the reason why you were born, you are not yet living. And there's a need for you to discover why you were born and step to the plate and begin to deploy yourself to the reasons why you're born. And tell us which nation you are joining us from. Let's know which nation you are joining us from. So I think on that note, that's us wrapping up nation number 44, which is Somalia. Somalia. We're looking at Somalia and Somalia. So again, ask yourself as I wrap up tonight, why was I born? What problem was I born to solve? And begin to find ways of how to deploy. And I think if you think we need to discuss, there's a need for us to have a session with you to be able to brainstorm and come to recognition of why you were born, send me a DM. Let's have a chat so that we can be able to work together and help you in identifying, in recognizing. Okay, Muzin Giedin. Oh, you're living in South Africa. Okay, great. Send me a DM. I know there are issues also in South Africa. So even if you're living in South Africa has its own challenges also. And we are going to be looking at South Africa in 2 sessions. We still have, even though the nation put it Somaliland, but the Somaliland is not yet recognized by the United Nations, even though it's there. So I'll look at it. If I need to look at it or not, or to jump it, we'll look at that. So send me a DM, Muzin Giedin, if that's the right way to pronounce your name or your handle. Send a DM. Let's see how we can have a chat and know, have you discovered the problem you're going to solve in South Africa? Have you discovered the issues that you were supposed to be tackling? Have you discovered the problems that your name were tagged on, and you are the one who is supposed to come and detonate those problems and remove those problems and release people who are under the burden of those problems? So on that note, we've come to the end of the session of the Mentorship today, the 3rd of September 2024. Thank you very much, Mozi Giedin. Thank you for those who have been with us today. Thank you for those who have been with us today. We'll see you again, God willing, next week Tuesday at 7:15. Again, the normal time when we look at another nation. And I believe very soon we'll also be going back to having guests on the show. We already have some. We have some guests which we already having discussion with, and one is already booked. You'll see the flyer of our next, where we're going to be having guests on the show. Thank you very much. Thank you for all those who have been on the show tonight, those who have come by here. Thank you, Richwell the Crown, Olulola the Great. Thank you, Muzin. Thank you, Anita Sonia. Thank you, everyone who has been on the show tonight. I'll see you again next week Tuesday by God's grace. Bye now. Bye.